Hey there, my name's Christian, and probably like many of you, I have a love-hate relationship with Twitter. It's something where I learn a lot, even meet some interesting people, get to participate in interesting conversations, stokes my creativity when I see totally out there bizarre tweets. But at the same time, it can take a lot of time and attention, and that can certainly be a distraction. And so I thought to myself, well, it might be kind of interesting if I could string together a bunch of AI, sort of like, web services, different APIs and things like that, and use Replit to take my Twitter timeline and then turn it into, sort of a daily newscast in audio format. I like to walk during the day. I like to go for walks and talks. I used to listen to a lot of podcasts, although I mostly consume the AI summaries now. But I thought it would be kind of neat to, basically get sort of a high level view of whatever was new and interesting on my Twitter timeline via a text message that contains an audio message summarizing my tweets. And then, if I want to actually go into the Twitter app, I can, but this basically saves me time potentially and makes it easier for me to not get sucked in. So I created a Python script. Mostly thanks to GPT-4. GPT-4 wrote like 90% of this, but I made it available for everybody as a REPL on Replit. So I'm going to show you basically how it works and guide you through some of the instructions of how to set it up for yourself. So let me first just hit go on this. So here we are in Replit. Let me move this around so you can see it a little bit better. All right, so this is the REPL. It's all set up. I'm just gonna hit run and then open up my text messages. So I have a phone number that's already saved in my contacts that's actually set up via Twilio to send me texts. And it should take just a second to run. I'll explain in a second what's going on behind the scenes with a little architecture diagram. But once it's done querying the Twitter API and doing all of its processing, then I will get a text message. There we go. Okay, so let's see. This is basically the text of the personalized summary that's based on thousands of tweets over the last 24 hours that are in my timeline. And then you can see it creates an audio file, which is like a spoken version of it. I'll actually store it, and then it sends me a message. There you go, and it just appeared in my text inbox. So let me open this up a little bit. So, okay, so this is a surprise to me. I had no idea what was going to show up. And I follow some kind of weird stuff on Twitter, so this is a little dicey, but. So I got basically a very short summary. This was all created with GPT-4 based on the raw tweet data. And it creates like a fun little emoji, sort of like the most compressed summary you could think of. And then 3 bullet points as far as just like interesting highlights that are in the tweets, I guess. And then what's really fun is it includes an audio recording. This shows up as like a multimedia message, like on your iPhone or Android or whatever. It's just sent as a text from Twilio, and you can listen to it. So we'll listen to it now, and I don't know what's going to be in there, but we'll see.
Good day, Christian. Here's a personalized 1-minute newscast featuring the most interesting tweets from the last 24 hours. Peter Thiel saved over $1 billion putting his Facebook stocks into an IRA. A compelling story about the importance of understanding Russian culture to help navigate global dynamics. Oh, the center ground of British politics leans socially conservative and economically left, but often caters to banks, cultural elites, and technocrats. The green man symbolism sparks a debate of paganism and Christianity. AI and machine learning are amplifying human intelligence, a force multiplier for creativity. The potential connection between alcohol use, fertility rates, and social behaviors of young people was noted. AI safety is defined as protecting children, data privacy, and managing existential risks. And now, for the mind melter tweet of the day, teaching artificial intelligence how to bank on Ethereum. We are giving new systems access to new banking. Soon they will start exploring the internet and storing their own funds. On a practical note, consider reflecting on how AI is changing our everyday lives and the future of technology. Have a wonderful day, Christian. I hope you invest the time saved from this summary into exploring reality and building meaningful relationships.
So, like I said, I follow some sort of eclectic stuff on Twitter. Anyway, so it works, and it takes like a minute or whatever it is to run. Now I'm actually going to show you basically like very quickly like how it works, and then we'll run through like how to set it up for yourself from the public REPL, because there's like a bunch of API keys and things you need to put in. But in just a few minutes, probably it shouldn't take more than like maybe 10 minutes of setup. You can start getting these summaries texted to your phone. And I'll even include a little bonus thing at the end. You can set up like a recurring job so that you get it on a daily basis. I personally try to not check text messages or anything so I can do deep work in the morning, from like 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So anywhere from like 3 to 4 hours of deep work. And then I actually have a notification summary. So my plan is I'm going to be delivering this to my inbox at 1 p.m. every weekday. So I can just check it out, and that's it. Then I'm done. And I'm not, spending lots of time on Twitter. All right. So how does this all work together? So we have our Replit REPL, right? Which is basically just like a little computer. I actually originally wrote the script and ran it locally on my computer. And I wrote it mostly with ChatGPT plus GPT-4. So I went back and forth. I'd say it took soup to nuts, like from scratch, probably a total of about 4.5 hours. So it's not nothing, but like also not that much to build this. I've taken one computer science course. I took one computer science course in undergrad. I've coded a little bit, but like I'm not a particularly technical person, let alone an engineer. So that worked for me. All right. So basically what happens is the REPL, when it runs, it goes to Twitter, it retrieves a bunch of tweets from the past 24 hours that are on my like home screen timeline. And I think it retrieves 1,000, right? Or over 1,000 or something like that, but it's quite big. Now, the problem is there's a token limit, with GPT-4. So like you can't take all 1,000 tweets and then pump them through the AI. There are different ways that you could tackle this. Like you could break it up into smaller chunks or something like that, and then send it to the AI. But what I did is just a little heuristic, was I took a random sample of tweets. So it's 150 tweets. So that's, out of 1,000, it's like 15%. So there's a lot of information that's lost. Basically, it's not accounted for, but, then again, that was just a decision that I made. So OpenAI is going to open up the context window limits and things like that. But anyway, you can change the code. I mean, you have the REPL code. So if you want to make edits, you can. Anyway, it brings that back. It does a simple random sample of the tweets. And then I forgot to draw this, but let's put a little brain. I don't know. That's terrible. But, you have OpenAI. GPT-4 is what I have wired up. If you don't have GPT-4 access yet, you can use 3 or 3.5. And it sends basically that sample of tweets along with a prompt that says, 2 prompts actually. One that says, turn this into a newscast summary. And then the other is like the text for the little text message summary. And then it sends back those 2 things. So that's stored in the REPL now. And then it takes the text for the script, and it actually sends it to 11 Labs, which is this really interesting company that will take text and then turn it into like pretty high quality voice audio. 11 Labs is pretty crazy because you can actually clone like your own voice. I've done this for a couple of clients, and it's kind of freaky. It works quite well, or you can just, sort of synthesize your own ones. The one that I use is just like kind of a random synthesized one. So it sends the text there, it generates the audio. The audio file gets sent back as an MP3. It does a little bit of compression because when you're texting files, like there's a limit in terms of size. But okay, so the file's back here, it's stored locally on the REPL. And then what happens is it sends the file to Google Cloud, so a little like hard drive storage basically. And then that sends back a public URL. And then what happens is the REPL sends the text, so like the summary with the emojis and the 3 bullet points, to Twilio, along with a link to the cloud URL to Twilio. And then Twilio confirms that it sent a text that includes both the actual audio file as well as the text of the text message to your phone number. And that's it. That's how it works. So, all right, let's go to the instructions quickly, how to set this up. There's like a decent amount of setup. And it's because you're stringing together all these APIs. And I thought about like making this available as like a web app or something, but I just didn't. Obviously you could, if somebody's like, hey, I want to turn this into a paid service, like you could. I'd say go for it. I would. I actually think that would be awesome. I'd be super curious, if that's something you could like plug Stripe into and charge for. But I didn't do that, right? I wanted to use Replit. I wanted to make this kind of open source and let people play with it if they were interested. Okay, so instructions. First thing you need to do is fill in credentials for Twitter, 11 Labs, and Twilio. And this is in the secrets. These are basically like environment variables on your local machine, your REPL. And I'm not going to go through all this, but just know that like you need to create accounts at 11 Labs, OpenAI. I forgot to include that, so let's OpenAI and Twilio. All right, so 11 Labs, OpenAI key. These are all things that you can get after you've created your accounts. Twilio, same thing. And the Twilio phone number, you need to actually create a phone number, obviously, for you to, you need to create a phone number for you to send from. So that's what that is, Twilio phone number. Twitter access token, you got to sign up for the developer API access, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, all that stuff. Voice ID is something that you actually get from 11 Labs, and I'll show you how to get that in a second. And then your phone number. So this should be, like in my case, I'm in the US, so it's +1, and then the, 10-digit phone number. So yeah, just copy and paste those in. And that's it. So once you sign up for all these services, you can enter those in. The only exception is 11 Labs. You need to actually go to the web application, create a custom voice, right? And once you've created that, that'll be in their system. And to get the ID, what you have to do is go to, so there's a script called getvoices.py. And what you can do is go to the shell, and I already ran this, but I'll just run it again. Is you run Python 3 getvoices.py. And these are all the voices that I have on my account. So if you copy and paste, in my case, I created one called newscaster. Just copy and paste that ID essentially into the voice ID parameter, right? Okay. So that's a whole bunch of stuff. Go back to instructions. All right. Then what you have to do is to get Google Cloud Platform storage. Like it's a decent amount of work. It's that one actually might take the most time because you have to adjust permissions and everything. But what you end up doing is you create a storage bucket called newscasts. You have to set the visibility to public so that the REPL and then Twilio can access the file that gets saved. And then you create basically this JSON key which you download locally to your machine. It'll appear in your downloads folder if you're using a Mac like I am. And I'm not going to show you this because it's got, sensitive information or whatever, but the version of the REPL that you're going to use, this will be blank. You need to copy and paste the value of the JSON key that you downloaded in there in order to hook it up to your Google Cloud account. Okay, so decent amount of setup, but that's just, we're using like a whole bunch of different APIs, right? All right, then what you have to do is you go to main and you want to fill in your name so it's personalized. So that will be incorporated into the script, which is kind of cool. And then you choose the model. I have GPT-4 access. GPT-4 is insane. It's great. I don't really use 3.5. I use GPT-4 whenever I can. If you don't have access, you can just do 3.5 Turbo, or you can apply for, 4 access and then get it. All right, then we go through. It's like, great. We see all this stuff, all these different secrets. Cool. I went over like how this works. If you can read code, that's cool. If you can't, that's cool too. I sort of explained how it works. Quickly, like the prompts. So these are actually there are 2 prompts for the OpenAI, like generating the data, and you can change this to whatever you want, obviously. So if you want to have like the model to have like a personality, and I've tried doing this where it's like it injects some like edgy humor into it or something like that. Essentially you can make it as flexible as you want. It's kind of crazy. So I started with like a pretty vanilla prompt, but you could change it to make it sort of more interesting or more tailored to like, your interests. So say only highlight stories about AI or, politics in Bangladesh or something like that. Right. So it's up to you. It's just like giving instructions to, imagine you had your own analyst or newscaster, right? So you can do that in 2 ways. You can bake it into the actual text prompt, or you can bake it into the system prompt. This is something that's like, it's sort of like defining the personality of the service. Okay, so that's cool. I said it was a journalist. And then there's the actual text summary that, if you look back at my messages, creates this, right? And I say create a 3-bullet summary, et cetera, emoji micro summary. You are a brilliant analyst. Okay. Cool. So that'll all work. And then what happens is it has all that information. It sends it to 11 Labs, Twilio, does a bunch of stuff to you'll see here, like the local file will be stored and it'll get overwritten. So.
Good day, Christian. Here's a personalized human intelligence, a force multiplier for creativity, the potential connection between alcohol use, fertility rates, and...
So that gets stored locally, basically, before it's sent to the cloud. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So as long as you follow the instructions, you fill all that stuff in, fill in your name, choose the model, create that 11 Labs voice, and make sure that you select the right ID, put that into the secrets. Last but certainly not least, if you run into any issues, I highly, highly recommend just sign up for ChatGPT Plus. Most of what I did to create this, I'll be totally honest, was just like brute force saying, I want something to do this. I want something to do that, right? And it would give me code. I would make modifications. And when there was an issue, I would literally just copy and paste the command line output and be like, this doesn't work. And that's what I did. So if you run into any issues, literally what I would do is I would copy and paste the entire script and paste it in here and say, I'm doing this on Replit and here's sort of the error that I get in the command line interface, etc. Replit has something called Ghostwriter that's in beta. I tried using it. It's as of, sort of, I don't know, what is it now, April. It's pretty good, but I found that it's kind of unreliable in terms of like debugging errors. And ChatGPT Plus, at least for right now, like seems to work pretty well. So I'm really looking forward to when Replit actually has like Ghostwriter, when it's on par with ChatGPT Plus, which I'm sure they'll get it to in GPT-4. It'll be excellent. But basically until then, try this and it'll get you quite far. So that's pretty much it. Those are the instructions. And then again, if you want to connect, hit me up on LinkedIn, Twitter, LinkedIn. I'm a little bit more professional, long form, posts, Twitter. A little bit. I like to send out those mind melters, some kind of esoteric stuff. So I don't know, it's just more fun. And then last but not least, if you want to get a recurring text like on a daily basis, you can go to easycron.com and you can set up a job to actually ping your REPL at a certain time of day. I'm not going to show you how to do that. Use ChatGPT Plus. There you go. If you want to ask it how to do it, it'll show you how to do it. But that's basically all I got. I hope this is useful. Again, I like Twitter a lot. There's like cool information. That's how I found out about Replit, right? But it's also very easy to get sucked in. And generally speaking, like I only want to surface like a few interesting things, to sort of stay up to date on what's going on, like with AI, and to, stoke some creativity with those like really out there hot takes. Those are always fun. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this is useful. Replit is awesome. All this stuff with AI is like totally crazy. I'm kind of shocked that I was able to build this. And I really hope that, you get some usage out of it and maybe even extend it and build on top of it. So good luck, Godspeed. I hope you find this useful.